180. That's how many comedy slabs there have been. And they said, whoever they are, it wouldn't last long. I think that the they was us, wasn't it, Shane?
Yeah, we did. That was yeah. That was after the first 45 minutes, wasn't it? We went, that won't last long.
Yeah, absolutely. It felt longer. But just as Roy Plumley thought there would only be 6 episodes of Desert Island Discs, which is now running after 70, 80 years. I don't know that we'll make 80 years, but hey, this is the Comedy Slab. I'm Adrian Lacey in the southeast of England. He, Shane O'Connor, is in the Midlands. And collectively, we have a marble slab of comedy on which we put a different type of comedy each week, or a different edition of a comedy show, be it TV, radio, or Tinternet. And we prod it about a bit, see who salutes, stick the scalpel in, and then at the end of the show, give it marks out of 5 each, giving a grand total of 10. Of course, you can play along either in the office where you are sneakily working, if anyone's in the office these days, or at home or on the move. So lovely to have you along. If you're a regular listener, you'll know we start with some comedy news, and I've cunningly explained that if you're not a regular listener. So see what I did there? I slipped it in as a bit of info. Before we go any further, I must say I'm very impressed by you moving into the world of properties, Shane. We see each other on the Skype, and I see you've got something which looks like it would be very at home on a very giant board of Monopoly.
It does look like a Monopoly house, doesn't it? Yeah, it's for the kids.
I thought you were moving into it while they were doing the works.
Well, I say it's for the kids. I mean, I've been stuck in there on more than one occasion, to be honest with you. But less said about that, the better. Yeah, we bought. It's real plastic, as well.
Genuine plastic, not just fake.
Yeah, my dad, God rest his soul, he always used to say, when we were talking about wood, he said, "Oh, I remember a bloke once." He said, and he had a beautiful piece of oak. He said, and he polished it and polished it and polished it, and said, and eventually it looked like real plastic.
I can see where the O'Connor humour comes from.
Yes, well, because he famously arrived in Birmingham off the train, fresh off the boat from Ireland. He emigrated to Birmingham. And famously asked somebody, he said, "What's that building there in Birmingham city centre?" And they said, "The council house." And he said, "Blimey, no wonder there's a waiting list." Right. But yeah. But so I thought, isn't it partially? I mean, normally it's an outdoor house, that is, but because the weather's so
nasty.
Isn't it foggy at the moment? You can't see down behind your back, can you, at the moment? It's terrible. So we thought, right, okay, we'll keep it in. So we I don't know how we're going to get out of the house again. I'm going to have to take it apart, I think, or we're knocking the house down soon.
You had to assemble it?
Oh, yeah.
It comes like that,
yeah. Yeah.
I thought it would come on the back of a truck, but obviously not.
No, it's, it probably did, but with a number of others.
Yes. In close proximity. Anyway, we have to, sadly, we have to put on a solemn, reflective, dark attire now, because the comedy news is of someone's passing. I'm going to hand to you because you're both more familiar with their work, and also you had the privilege of interviewing them. So who are we talking about, Shane?
It's, it was a bit of a shocker as well, even though he was 78. I mean, people regularly live into their 90s now, don't they? Or seem to. He was only 78, but Gary Waldhorn, who a lot of people will know from The Vicar of Dibley.
Was he a Conservative councillor? Did I read?
That's right. He was like he was in charge, wasn't he? I think really he was kind of a big noise in. I was going to say I can't remember the name of the village, or the name of
or the job title of Dawn French's character
of the priest. Yeah,
there is a clue, but now we know what VOD stands for. I thought it was Video on Demand, but it's Vicar of Dibley, so I got that wrong.
Okay, he played a character called David Horton, but I mean, people who are older than that would remember him for Brushstrokes, which was. I remember being huge at the time, which was a sort of Carl Hammond vehicle, wasn't it? Where he was like a kind of painter and decorator who worked for Gary Waldhorn's character, but he was a bit of a one for the ladies, shall we say? I mean, again, I don't know how it would stand up these days. You're not allowed to have relations with the opposite sex, are you?
You love somewhat exaggerating it, but I mean, in my ignorance,
we're nearly there.
I'm not even a Unitarian with brushstrokes, but fortunately, I never.
You've never seen anything?
No, not once. So if you ever want to put that, slap your brushstrokes on the slab, and that's not a euphemism, that's fine by me.
Where were you in the 80s then? What were you doing?
I'm trying to think. So tell me about when you interviewed him, because apparently there was a bit of a shock. You were teasing me. Now, I have to say, this is not a setup that I know the answer to this, folks listening, wherever you're listening.
No.
I genuinely don't know. So I will be as shocked as you were, Shane, and the listener was then.
I can't, I looked for the interview. I can't find the interview, sadly. I mean, I've got it somewhere, but it's just locating the blooming thing. My filing system, audio-wise, isn't what it used to be. And so I can't remember what it was he was doing. I mean, obviously the reason I was interviewing him because he was doing something, or he'd written something, or he was selling something, or whatever. And I think it was a pre-record, and because obviously I'm there and I'm thinking, oh, well, yeah, I know the guy. He's from the Vicar of Dibley and Brushstrokes before that. And if you look through his CV, I mean, it's all well-known stuff he was in. He's had a good career. And so you kind of, in your own mind, you kind of think you know somebody, don't you, when you do that? You know what I mean? You think, I've got their... I mean, even to the point where you think, this is not the first actor I've ever interviewed. And you kind of think, yeah, they're actors. That's what they're doing. They're not really like that, But he was, and I mean this, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way. I mean this in the most respectful way that you could possibly say this. But he was a real lovey.
As in, he was proper grown-up plays.
Serious thesp. I mean, he was like really, really nothing like. And why should he be? But yeah, I mean, that was one of my lessons in, never judge a book by its cover. And I kind of started to talk to him, and then I thought, I'm really going to have to change my tack here because he's not the guy that I thought he was. But lovely man, fascinating, and really passionate about his work. And I just got really fond memories of that interview because, not least, you must have had occasions like that when you interview people and you think you know the road it's going down, and then all of a sudden.
Yes, the ground moves from under your feet.
Yeah. But yeah, no, lovely guy. It was sad news. I just wanted to mention one to you because I just picked this up tonight, actually, just before we started to record, and I never know how to say it, and so forgive me. The TV exec, is it Jana or Jana or Jana or Yana Bennett?
I think it was Jana. Are you going to tell me she's no more?
She's passed away. She had brain cancer. And she's died at the tender age of 66. I mean, she was in charge again around wasn't it about this? No, it was about 2000, I think, wasn't it? She was in charge of BBC TV, wasn't she? She was it.
Yeah, she was La Grande Fromage. Yeah.
and then went on to your neck of the woods. Actually, she went to. I think she joined A&E.
Because I was working on Discovery at one point. Or History is part of A&E, isn't it? Not Discovery.
Yeah, she was running History. And
wow.
And apparently they've got a channel called H2 as well now. Which is
didn't have that in my day.
No,
actually, it was probably called History 2 or something. Well, that's very sad, and that is far too young. And it makes me think, sorry, 66. While we're on such downbeat subjects, Janice Long, I know not a comedian, but a performer, and I mean, too young for her to, close her fader as a disc jockey. Radio 2, Radio 1 before that. Our paths coincided once, and don't take this the wrong way. Most people will know I'm no great drinker, but I was at the BBC bar, darling. It was after Top of the Pops, so she must have presented that. And all I remember is just a very cheery goodbye from her, Janice Long, to the whole crew and everyone at the bar and all of that. I didn't realise that was going to be the last goodbye. Gosh, that's why we have to appreciate each other and appreciate each day. Don't count the days, but make the days count.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
that's nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the comedy news for this week. Apologies for the downbeat nature, but them's the breaks.
Everyone listening is thinking, if that's the comedy, I don't want to hear the tragedy.
Yeah.
Anyway, but we do have a show for you, but I want to know, young Shanester, what you thought when I put, as it were, Sophie Willan, for it is she we're going to hear, I should say, actually, to set the scene. It's Radio 4 show, if networks mean anything to you. Otherwise, BBC Sounds on there for at least a year as we speak. Sophie Willan's Guide to Normality. Now, she's got a certain preoccupation, shall we say, with normality, or perhaps her interesting and exotic relationship to it, and at a certain, shall we say, arm's length from it, because she was in Alma's Not Normal. So she was playing Alma, and that was her creation, which we slabbed. Are you... looking at you now on Skype, I'm wondering if you're searching for when we slabbed that, but maybe I'm misreading the runes.
No, I'm just writing a letter for the milkman.
I'm leaving my wife for you. No.
Yeah. Yes. Don't forget to bring the gold top.
That was such a trope, as we now have to call it, of our youth, wasn't it? Insecurity about the milkman. But anyway. Yeah. That will sound prehistoric to people who get their milk from sheaves of oat. Anyway, so what we're putting on the slab is... so we don't know how many... I was going to say it feels like about 10 slabs ago that we did that, but that's a very rough rule of thumb, and you're probably going to shock me. While you're looking, if indeed that's what you're doing with your jaw slack, Shane...
It was 169.
169, yeah, not,
so it was
not
11,
far off.
11
not
ago.
far off. It's a big number today, CS 180.
Yeah.
180. So, what was your anticipation, knowing what you made of Alma's Not Normal, a BBC TV show, to be told that you were going to hear her in stand-up?
Well, I think I let the cat out the bag last week, didn't? Well, I mean, it was all about, goes like the age of snoozing kittens last week, wasn't it? Of course.
The age is about, I don't know, 12 weeks?
And I have to say, if you listen to this podcast now, I'm disappointed that this happened before we started recording, but this week he was talking about multi-wombles, which is, it's not a phrase that you ever want to come across down a dark alley, is it? This is what led to Alma's Not Normal, isn't it? I mean, there's no question about it. In fact, there's I'll have to find it, but there's one of the lines in there that is a direct lift into the TV show.
Well, I hope you can remember. Anyway, I'm looking, because we must get on the first of 2 audio clips in a mo. Sorry to hurry you along, caller. Nothing to see. But you said you let the smitten kitten out of the bag, but essentially, thumbs up, wasn't it? If I had to summarise.
Well, I was a bit confused, because I thought, well, if we've just done the TV one and now we're going to do the radio version of the same thing, how's that going to work? So that was kind of my initial reaction. Well,
we'll find out what you make of it, and we'll look forward to your headline, the other side of our first of 2 audio clips. It being stand-up, it's relatively easy to get into, he says. I'll make it sound difficult, though, to my credit. So the series is called Sophie Willan's Guide to Normality. We slab not 1 but 2 episodes. They're just 15 minutes, 5 minutes each. So if I remember correctly, we're doing, as it were, are we doing politeness first? I think we are.
Monogamy.
Is it?
I did them the other way around.
Sorry.
It doesn't matter, but I mean, I did them the other way around.
I had to choose one, and I had to choose the wrong one, didn't I? So let's do monogamy first, and then we can have promiscuity after. No, we have a different topic afterwards. So, what to say? I don't think it needs too much of a setup, except I believe this was recorded in what I'll get told off for calling it the North, with a capital N. But she does make reference to the fact, there's a sort of reference to, she's trying to tie in with a theme later on, which I won't go into, but sort of implies they're in a hotel, actually. But that's a gag relating to some escort work she's done. But hey, I rather suspected, other than with that reference, that they were at the BBC in Salford or whatever venue the BBC uses there, but I could be wrong. We'll see if we can check out it a bit later on. Anyway, it sounds to me like the audience are eating out of her hand, which is just as well, because she's offering them a sandwich.
So basically what the critical sandwich is if you've got a problem with somebody, right, you can't tell them, right? You've got to present it like a sandwich. And the first slice of bread has to be a compliment, right? So you trick them in. Then you've got the meat, that's your ham, your spam, your tofu, whatever it is. That's the meat of the issue, that's why you're here, this is the criticism, right? And then on the final bit, you've got a slice of bread. Again, that has to be a compliment. So, hello, what's your name?
John.
Say me and you ran off together, we had a whirlwind romance. It was very exciting at first. Then you moved in probably too fast. And, you know, what I thought was eccentric turned out to be alcoholism. And you did a classic you, John. You nipped out at 12 p.m. for a punnet of tomatoes. Didn't come back at all, right? The next day, I opened the door. You fall in, fully clothed, plans to meet a tramp penned across your arm, right? Now, what I'd have to do in a critical sandwich scenario, I'd have to open the door, let him fall in, stand over him, slice of bread. It's lovely to see you, John. Then get to the meat. It would have been nice if you'd called John. Sometimes you make it very hard to love you, John. Then the slice. But it is lovely to see you, John. Now, if I was John, I'd just be like, she's happy to see me!
It is a bit like that, isn't it? The critical sandwich. I must admit, I kind of related to that. You kind of think, well, you're saying this, how's the other person going to react to it? But just to say, I mean, obviously Sophie Willan has been through an awful lot in the short years she's been on the planet, hasn't she? She's been an escort, she's been a sex worker, and she had a pretty grim upbringing.
Mum, a heroin addict, was she?
Yeah, I think so. You're certainly a drug addict. And I think, I don't know if I told you, but I carried on when we slabbed Alma's Not Normal, which is basically autobiographical. I couldn't really finish it because I just found the flashbacks to her childhood just really grim. And I thought, why am I watching this? I'm really not enjoying it anymore.
And could I just say, you did slightly give me a bum steer, but it's entirely my fault for not getting my clips in the right order. Monogamy is to follow later, darling. We're working up to that. This is a show about Be Polite. That's the subtitle. But can I just say also, and I think this sowed the seed of me wanting to slab this particular show. I remember when you were doing your homework for Alma's Not Normal, the TV show, you also told me, was it on YouTube, you'd seen some of her stand-up, so you were ahead of the curve with me. And I think that, if I've got the order right, that possibly made your reaction to Alma's Not Normal, which didn't really do it for me, and we'll get on to the comparison between the two, but I think that might have befriended you more, or warmed you up more to her. Is that fair? I
mean, not only, and I'd found that line actually that is direct lift, which is actually in this episode is in Be Polite. I found that line, which is a direct lift from, or is lifted into the TV series. She's describing herself when she was younger, and she says, "Think Mowgli with a mullet." Oh yeah, a classic line, and that's in the TV series. Yeah, and also one of the very first things she starts, I like to start with a boob shake, which she didn't quite say it like that. She that's what I'd seen in a stand-up as well. So there were it was like a cross between what I'd seen of a stand-up, this was, and the bits that transitioned into what became Alma's Not Normal. Shall I give you a headline and we can move on? I mean, I came up with I preferred Sophie in a Alma Mater.
Alma
Mater. Alma Mater.
I don't feel worthy actually. That means you prefer the TV.
Yeah, I did.
Very clever headline. That's not exactly tabloid, is it? That's sort of chin-stroking Spectator meets Sunday Times colour supplement.
Well, that's me all over, isn't it?
Darling. And you call me, moi, pretentious.
I am the man for that, really, if you think about it. Yeah, I struggle with a stand-up, and do you know, it's something as simple and as ridiculous, and I'm sorry, but this is just the way it is, as the tone of her voice. It's very high all the way through, and I'm exhausted by the time I've finished 15 minutes with her. Did you get that?
There's different ways of selling it. I can see why you thought that. Yeah, she is at the upper end of her register, and she's projecting throughout, isn't she? She's not one of those, like, off the top of my head, who brings it right down sometimes.
It's like it's a man, but Jack D is like you kind of think, you know.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking of someone who had more of a range. But yeah, that didn't worry me. And I have to say, we're obviously opposites, darling, and obviously you're so much more Sophie, as your headline suggests. But I found it such a breath of fresh air, even though in a way it's not fresh air, but it feels fresh, coming to a show where there's belly aching laughs in it for me, and you can hear the audience are enjoying it, and that's not faked at all, I'm convinced. And there's just lovely, lovely gags which are meant to make you laugh. Unashamedly, it's classic stand-up, not classic Queen, and you know, it's audio. It just feels such a release and relief after too many smile comms on the telly. That's what it is, really. And there's a woman in front of a mic. She's totally in charge of her craft. I do have a little bit of a criticism of the formulaic thing. Shall I touch on that now, or save it for later? Shall I do it in a sandwich form?
Go for it.
Well, I've done. Yeah. You've had the bread, love. You've had the bread. Now I'm going to do the meat, or the tofu, or whatever it is. It is that it's like a sandwich, as she describes it. It's too much classic rule of threes, which is da 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 da. Bang. It was a bit like the countdown theme, wasn't it? Da-da,
I thought you were going to go da-da-da.
And that is, and every gag is like that. And you can sit there and go, oh, yeah, so 1, 2, oh, here we go. Yeah, jump off a cliff. But having said that, I don't want to ruin it for everyone if I haven't already managed that. You can forget that and just enjoy the gags. And her mastery of words, and she's a sharp cookie. I hear what you say. I mean, let's come back to her life, because you can't avoid it. The work is so autobiographical. To me, maybe I've spent too long looking at positive thinking books, which is a sign of how negative my thinking normally is, that I need to read the positive books. But to me, the positivity is that she's up on stage and she's winning, and she's won over a crowd. She's won through executives. To get a TV show commissioned, by the Beeb, you don't do that easily. She talks at one point, and I've no doubt that she's actually, again, it's autobiography, talks about leafleting or fly posting or whatever every producer in the North, presumably at BBC Salford, maybe Radio 4, the comedy unit there, and this is a BBC Studios production, I should say. And she's won, but that's not to take away from the tragic childhood. That is there, and that clearly she's stuck with that, and she's brought that to the screen. But I just think she's a fighter, and she's fought through, and she's won.
Well, I mean, she even says, though, that it wasn't hard for her to get a show, because she said, they're falling all over themselves to hire her, because she's working class and she's a woman. And she even, and I know she says it as a joke, but you kind of, knowing the BBC as I do, and knowing the world of entertainment as I do, as it is now, she said, I had no idea that my identity would become more sellable than my talent.
Oh, well, yeah, and I don't think she's joking there either, is she? But it gets a laugh. That's the great thing, though. She's so skilled that she sets it up in such a way as it is a joke, but actually, it's autobiography again, I'm sure.
But and I don't know whether it's because I've consumed the 5 and a bit episodes of Alma's Not Normal that I kind of, and because we did our research for when we slabbed that as well, so we know her story quite well now, and I do kind of think there has to be more than there's more to Sophie than this. It's real Alan Partridge tonight, isn't it?
It is. We can't help ourselves.
I have to feel that there's more to her than telling her own story, because there's a limit to go, yeah, okay, love, you're a sex worker, we get it. What else have you got? To
extend that thought, I enjoyed it because I didn't know exactly where she was going to. She did that classic thing. I know I've talked about a formula, set up, fall off a cliff, punchline. But, and you could say quite male in that sense, or certainly classical style stand-up. But she still wrong-footed me with some ideas, or just the choice of words. I wouldn't panic at all. I mean, look, I could see her, if she wants to go into management, she could do that and make a massive success of it. She might do a Jana Bennett and go into senior management for Arts and Entertainment Network or whatever it is.
She's got the genitalia for it, hasn't she? So Why not?
I haven't checked, but I take these things on trust. But the point is, I wouldn't worry about that at all, because, I mean, it was said to me years ago, a person's first book, if someone gets around to writing a book, and I finally have, it is going to be autobiographical. Mine certainly is semi-autobiographical. That's fine. You've got to get things off your chest. And then some people say every book is autobiographical, and because you can look at writers where that is the case and performers where that is the case. I'm just not panicking about that, because I like the journey so far. Yes, she's got to feed that either with, I don't know, she might get around the world in 80 minutes or go up into space or whatever.
You say that, though. I mean, you say I like the journey so far. You only did one episode, didn't you? So
I did two episodes. 15 minutes.
No,
each.
You did 2 episodes of this, and you did 1 episode of the TV series, and then got off the bus and went, thanks, see you then, bye.
Ding, ding. Well, okay.
Loving your work.
Shall we address that? We're obviously... that's what I like working with you for, because you're never predictable. And I still, I'm left with the feeling with Alma's Not Normal that I would have just loved some of this. I nearly wanted to say machinery, but that makes it sound too mechanical. But, if she can make me laugh as a stand-up, I appreciate it's different mediums, a different pace and everything. But do you remember what I said about that? She lost me virtually in the first minute of Alma's Not Normal. It was suddenly, and at that stage I knew nothing about her, so it was a kind of blank slate. But I thought, and I really had to fight the feeling, because if I wasn't putting it on the slab for us, darling, I would have probably flicked over at that point, and I would have missed something, definitely. But it wasn't a good first minute. The TV show Alma's Not Normal on the BBC, and possibly still there on iPlayer, but around somewhere. It just didn't sell it to me. And I thought, because the title is making I think, a grand claim. The implication is, we're going to get some wacky dude here. And there's just some business at a bin, and she's going into a job centre or something. And it wasn't, it had none of that sort of verve and wit and the use of words and the pace and timing that would make you laugh. It comes back to the old trope for me. Sorry,
that's direction, isn't it? Though, isn't that a fault of direction rather than her and her writing? Do you think?
Well, no. My hunch would be, because she knows what she wants. I assume she wanted that effect. That's been my working assumption. So I'm not blaming anyone. It's just it didn't work for me. And
isn't it weird how it's the exact opposite? Is I much preferred the TV series and telling the story in that format to the radio series, and you vice versa. I think one of the things that puts me off, and I don't know whether you get a sniff of this at all or not. And I think it's Marty Kane that she sounds like.
But I worked with Marty Kane, bless her.
Did you? She was a stalwart, wasn't she? She
was ahead of her time, thinking about it. Working class lass at a time when it was not an easy place to be. TV.
No, she was a singer first and foremost, wasn't she? But then she used to do gags in between, and she kind of got this sense of humour thing going on. But I don't know if her voice, her accent, it always puts me in mind of somebody else, and I think it's Marty Kane, and it puts me off. But when I see her, it doesn't put me off. I'm okay with it. It's really weird.
Well, it's very charitable of you. I'll tell her in person. I'm sure she'll be impressed.
It's just. I'm just saying. I know it's weird, but that's just. And to me, I would rather see her than listen to her.
But at other times, we'd be on completely flipped around, wouldn't we, from where we are now? That you'd prefer a gaggier thing that made you laugh rather than something that was a bit sort of chin strokey.
Yeah.
Well, that's a to-do, isn't it? Should we have another audio clip and see if we can possibly agree on anything whatsoever to do with
Go
this?
on. And it's nice to get back to normal, isn't it, after a couple of times agreeing with each other? It's
actually, I thought we were going a bit soft myself. So
yeah. Cool. Before we play the next clip, because we might be able to listen to this in the next clip, and so I don't know whether it. I would disagree with you, by the way. I thought very much that it was recorded in London because of the way she did the segment, talking about, you love the Northerners, don't you? And then she talks about Salford and says it's a bit of a SH1T hole and
Yes.
and all that kind of stuff. And I got the impression that she wasn't there. I did look it up to try and find out where it was recorded, but I'm pretty certain it was recorded in London.
Right.
Or certainly not.
I might
not
have
in the North.
misinterpreted what she was saying, or maybe she's just trading on the fact that she can pretend to be anywhere because it's radio.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But the point I wanted to make is that the audience, the bar was open early, wasn't it?
Well, if it was London, it's probably the teetotal place called Broadcasting House. I mean, yeah, it can't stop people going for a pint first, but...
Are you allowed to take anything in a brown paper bag, are you, or not?
Well, only if you're senior management. Don't be ridiculous. You know how it works, darling. Trebles all
and then
round.
it's compulsory.
That's how you could move up the food chain.
Yeah.
Right, on that bombshell, which probably finishes my BBC career for one.
No, hang on a
Well,
second.
have you not finished?
Did you think that? I mean, there's really
No.
hype of the
You see, the
audience
problem is you didn't find it funny, so you think, oh, they must be tanked up. I found it funny, so I think, well, I wouldn't need to be tanked up to enjoy it. I didn't.
There was screaming with laughter, and I don't mind having a titter, but come on.
Titter ye not.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to be listening to the audience as much as anything, as our listening audience. This clip, I give them titles. This is called 2, which helps because it's clip number 2. And yes, this time we are in the land of monogamy. I've called it tattoo monogamy. That's sort of to prompt me, and that does sound a bit odd, but you'll understand with her imagery in just a moment. So essentially we've moved on to another 15-minute episode of Sophie Willan's Not Normal, BBC radio show, just a reminder. And so what is that parallel she's drawing between tattoos and monogamy and people?
I can't get a tattoo because I'm frightened that I'll grow out of it and regret it. Like, a partner is like a human tattoo. Why would you do that? There are so many people in the world to meet and sleep with. Why stick with one? I have slept with a lot of people. I wouldn't describe myself as promiscuous. I'm more of an anthropologist. And I have to say, don't get me started on the cost of marriage. Did you know that the average marriage costs £27,161 and then 42% of those couples get divorced, which costs a whopping average of £70,000. So in total, monogamy costs a minimum of £97,161. Do you know what you could buy for that? You could buy 5,896 bottles of gin.
It doesn't cost that, does it? Because you don't have to be monogamous to be married.
Oh, don't ruin the gag. And
But
I
it
thought
helps,
you were going to
doesn't
say, well, I'm sure there's discounted bottles of gin at Morrison's. You wouldn't need to pay anything like that.
Yeah. They were like really wetting their pants, weren't
Well,
they? With that?
applause. Crikey, she was surfing that beautiful wave that not every comedian gets to hear ever, of applause and laughter. That's a double whammy. Fantastic.
Do you know, I didn't, and this is just gauging, and again, she's acting.
Achtung.
This is just gauging against what I know of her. I never think that she feels very comfortable in the stand-up format.
Mm-hmm.
But I always thought, my God, what a great actress. So, that again, that's just. I don't know. That's me more than her, but that's how I feel about it. I never felt that she felt very, and that's why with the high voice and the kind of the shouting and the kind of thing, even in that clip there, I thought she didn't sound in a comfort zone with it at all.
That's interesting. Or is she acting uncomfortable? Here's the thing. I'll just use an illustration because even as you were saying that, I had a flashback.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I know, but I've checked the
You're going to
flies.
nose again, are you?
It's all
Is
gone
this
a
the
bit-
one about being chased by a giant peanut while you're dressed as Superman?
I'm not sure I heard you correctly there. It's all gone a bit end of the pier, but I'll soldier on personally. Do you know a play, this is good old grown-up stage play, darling, called The Comedians by Trevor, is it either a Griffith or a Griffiths? What am I going to Plumfoot. I can't remember. I think he might be a Griffith singular.
No, I don't.
Anyway,
can't recall.
it's just brilliant because it takes you through. It sort of unfolds largely in real time. It's a night class. This is years before such things were common for people to be comedians. But of course, you're watching professional actors, half a dozen of them. And they're talking about the role of comedy, but while they're doing it, you feel like you're in the night class with them. And then guess what? They take you to the venue and you see them in performance.
Right.
And what I thought, and when they're in performance, of course, it's written in such a way as to be laugh, 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 just like good stand-up. And what that made me think, and I was very green around the gills then, but it made me think, oh, hang on, any decent actor, worth their salt, well-directed, with a decent script, which is lots of ifs, can be a comedian. It really shocked me because up to then I just thought there was something mysterious and genetic about a comedian. You had to be born a comedian and, very naive about it. I mean, I was in my 20s, for goodness sakes, it's about 100 years ago. So that was a revelation. And so I genuinely think she will be making choices. And if she is loud and shouty and shrill, that is a choice. That's an acting, performing choice, I think.
Possibly. It might not be, might it? I mean, we don't know.
But if it's not a choice, then that's, to me, that would make me think that's closer to where she wants to be anyway. That's what she wants us to think is the natural Sophie Willan, but it's clearly not doing it for you. That's not what it feels like for you.
It's interesting you say that. That's like back to the Frankie Howard again, isn't it? Barry Cryer always saying that he used to make him write the no, Mrs. No, titty ye not. Not everything was written down on the page, and he would recite it verbatim, which again, to some comedians who don't work like that would be completely alien and completely counterintuitive. But it's whatever works for you, isn't it? I suppose is the adage to follow.
Absolutely. But, and I mean, anyone at that level is going to be a perfectionist, and they will have dissected their own work. They'll have put on their own comedy slab many times over, watching themselves on video, listening to themselves on audio. They haven't just accidentally chanced upon what they're doing. It's like I've said in the past, Woody Allen in his 60s stand-up, one of the first things he does is cough. I'm sure the cough is scripted night after night in the same place because it says it's a nervous, neurotic character. And he wants you to know that early on. I
just did a quick bit of research. This is the very slightest research. And like Sophie Willan's Guide to Normality, the episodes are Be a Parent, Get a Job, Do Monogamy, and Be Polite. The last two are the ones that we slabbed. And then I just literally just had a few clicks on the BBC website, and found Stephen K. Amos' Life An Idiot's Guide with the episodes Raising Children, Dishonesty, Morality, Role Models. And I just I do tire. And, you listen to it and the briefest comparison, it would appear that it is that kind of stand-up 15 minutes, just...
Well, I think that's to say no more than that's what the slot is, and every show needs a theme, but...
Yeah,
but it didn't do it for you. See, I failed to see that.
I just think it doesn't do it for the comedians either. Personally, I don't think. When you look at that, and then all right, you kind of think, okay, it's the first vehicle out for her on radio, but you compare that to what she ended up doing on the TV, and they're chalk and cheese in my estimation. You look at the effort. There was no effort gone into this at all, was there? I mean, I must admit, I thought of you at one stage where she does this.
Well, because I make no effort. How very dare you?
No. She did this. What did she do? This kind of was it the top 10 of couples or something? Which she only seemed to do about 4. And then they put this top of the pop style music bed on, and I thought, is that it? Is that the best? Is that production for 2018 these days?
I think
I don't know.
It's a very, very downbeat take on a pure art form in my view, but I feel a not very generous mark out of 5 coming from the Shanester. Do you want to go first?
Do you know, I haven't really thought about it. I better get a wiggle on. Not
or
really.
shall I do mine, which I have thought about?
Yeah, please.
Which is a whopping, well, Depends how you define whopping. It's 4 out of 5, which is good for me, good for her, and good for you. 8 out of 10 in effect. But hey, we mustn't confuse people because it's not going to make 8 out of 10 when we do our two together. One reason I'm not a maths teacher. Do carry on.
It was a 2 for me, really.
2 for me.
And which is interesting. Can I just zip back and just have a look and see what we respectively gave?
I gave you a strong steer in that direction previously. So while you're doing that, I will do the maths or the math. Weird. 6 out of 10.
I gave Alma's Not Normal a 4.
You're not going to say I gave it a 2.
You gave it a 2.5. That is weird, isn't it?
Yeah. What we like, chalk and cheese.
I know, but yeah, I just nothing against her, but I just kind of didn't resonate for me at all.
Didn't flatto your batto.
No.
My French is so good. Can I just ask quickly, though, as a sort of footnote?
How quickly?
About this quickly, if you'll shut up for a moment.
Quite quick.
Well, give me some breathing space. On YouTube, you looked at her stand-up when we were slabbing Alma's Not Normal, the TV show. You seem, from my memory, I didn't get into any detail, but you seem to really enjoy her stand-up then.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. You said it far too quickly for me. Could you speak slow?
What was the middle bit?
No, I didn't know. I didn't enjoy it.
You didn't know or you didn't know?
No, I didn't enjoy her stand-up.
Oh. Well, I've remembered it wrongly, or you portrayed it badly. Badly directed, I reckon you were.
It's not me, is it? I mean, that's
it's never you. It's never you. Right, well, that's our monogamy out the window. I'm going to be an anthropologist from here on in. Anyway, you're going to set our homework collectively for the next week.
How weird, though, you talk about monogamy. We're back to wood again, aren't we? So there we go. Right, yes, my homework for next week is...
Don't hang about.
A series. I think he only had one series on TV. It was on BBC Two. And I think we've talked about it before, actually. And this guy has been in everybody else's comedy show, from Julia Davis to Steve Coogan.
Is it the wonderful... Oh, it's not Kevin Eldon.
You are rocking, man. You're rocking.
Hey.
It is Kevin Eldon.
They'll think we've edited it, but this is genuinely in real time.
I thought that was really good. That was. It's Kevin. Well, actually, and it's close to what the series is. It's called It's Kevin.
It's Kevin.
And like I say, I needed one series. I've gone for episode 4, and it is a little bit contrived. But we've talked about this before, and I saw it when I was just scanning through it, and I thought, we've got to do this, where. He's got a character which is Adolf Hitler, but with the voice of George Martin. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes. And basically, people say Ringo Starr wasn't a good technical drummer, but... and he's being loaded onto a truck with tape over his... But that's a big train, isn't it?
Could be. Yeah, maybe he took it to that as well. We'll have to check the chronology of that one and figure out how it all works. But yeah, It's Kevin, the original BBC Two series. Episode 4 is your homework for next week. I shall look forward to it. Shall I do the anti-social medias? The socials, as we call them these days. Do follow us on Twitter @ComedySlab, naturally enough, and that's also the handle @ComedySlab, our Facebook page, if you could like the latter and follow us on the former. Did you see my tweet? Maybe you didn't. You didn't react. You never do, darling. It's a tired, overlong monogamous relationship there, me. But finding a brand of fudge called Slab. I did. Didn't I retweet it or like it or something? I don't know. You say you like it, but it's just words, isn't it? Anyway, that alone, I think, I'm biased, but that alone is worth following us on Twitter @ComedySlab, as I say. Do give, please, on bended knee, our bended knee to you, to me. Give us a recommendation, if you'd be so kind. In person, over Zoom, Skype, FaceTime, Teams, call it what you will. But get the message out there and we'd be very grateful. We just had bumper ratings, have we not? In the past week? Yeah, we were trying to figure out what we said or did. Yeah. Whatever it is, we should be doing it again, unless people get bored with it. I don't know. But we had a huge amount of people join us. And we're just praying that hopefully a huge amount of people won't leave us.
It's what they call churn in the trade.
Churn, yeah.
Anyway, thank you. If you're one such person, as you probably are, thank you very much for that. And thank you for passing the word on. And finally, a recommendation, a nice, generous star rating on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, and a little bit of blurb as well. Thank you.
It's nice in a way, though, isn't it? Because you always kind of have this fear that you're the only Unitarian out there, and quite obviously there's a lot of people tuning in for one episode and going, "I can listen to that again." That's enough for me, thanks.
There's too much oversell on this show. I've always thought it's the British disease.
You got to keep it down. Think of the neighbours. Don't forget you can catch us on Spotify, Spreaker, Stitcher, iHeart Radio. If you use Spreaker, that helps us immensely. Time to finish the podcast this time round with a critical sandwich.
Are you marking me?
Of Adrian's work. We like the cheese, but